All right. Hi, everyone. I want to welcome you to my Facebook Live. My name is John Nerrill. I help professionals who are ambitious about their careers create their next advancement opportunity. And today is show 40, and it's a Q&A format. If you are a member of my email community, you got an email from me both today and on Monday asking for questions. I've got a whole stack of them here. There they are. There's stuff written down here. I'm excited to go ahead and answer these questions, and hopefully you get some benefit out of that today. Just a few housekeeping rules before we get started. If you are not a member of my email community and you'd like to do so, there are two ways to do that. So one, you can either message me here or email me at john@johnnerrill.com and say, hey, I want to get on your email list. How do I do that? Put me on, and I'll go ahead and manually add you. Or you can go ahead and download my free offer, which is 3 steps to creating your next advancement opportunity without feeling overwhelmed. And that is a workbook that you get for free off of my website at johnnerrill.com. And then you'll just confirm your subscription. You get the workbook and you get it into my email list where I email everybody Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 a.m. All right, we're going to go ahead and dig right into this. So again, here are the questions. Here we go. First question. How do you overcome the fear of the job search? All right, great question. And so one of the things, and I'm going to just shamelessly plug this again, but my workbook, 3 Steps to Creating Your Next Advancement Opportunity Without Feeling Overwhelmed, is a big help because I talk about 3 steps in there, which is listen, lean in, and step forward. So in the listening phase, we're kind of gathering information about what we think our next advancement opportunity might be. And in the leaning in phase, we take one thing that's kind of resonating with us and we explore that a little more comprehensively. And of course, the step forward phase, we go ahead and we act on it. But I can tell you that in working with some of my one-on-one clients, when we have conversations around the job search and how that can be very overwhelming, I often find that there is some kind of block that is holding them back from really stepping forward. So for example, maybe it's your fear that you're just not good enough or you're not competitive enough in the workforce. Or maybe you've just had a really bad experience in your last job and quite honestly, you're a little burned by it. So one way to do is to simply maybe work with a coach or work with someone around those blocks. But the other advice or answer I want to give you today is this. Break everything down into small pieces. Nothing immediately happens overnight. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, give yourself a little bit of space and a little bit of grace to tackle one thing at a time. Maybe it's hiring someone to write your resume for you or hiring someone to review it, which is something I do as well. I actually don't write people's resumes, but I will review them and coach people through some of their achievements and impacts and such. But find like that one thing to help you go ahead and step forward, because the process itself is not only just overwhelming in terms of the amount of time that you have to give, it's also emotionally overwhelming. And so you want to really acknowledge and deal with some of the highs and lows that comes with the job search. So when I think about, how do you overcome the fear, it's very simply breaking things down into smaller chunks and to listen, lean in, and step forward. So thank you to the person that sent that in. That one's done. All right, here we go. Next question. How do you keep your skills in sync with today's job market without feeling overwhelmed? Great question. There's a lot of resources that are out there to help you stay current. So I remember whenever I would interview clients or interview prospective applicants in my various places of work, I always wanted to know how they stayed current. So in today's landscape where we can get everything here on our phone, think about the podcasts you listen to. Think about the journals you might read, the people whom you follow on any kind of social media account. Think about where you're getting your information from, and more importantly, why is consuming that content beneficial to you? You could look at websites like Coursera and other places that offer courses that are specifically designed to help you with professional development. But staying current is a big piece about our own professional development. And so figure out what is not only interesting to you, but also what is important for you in your field of expertise, and consume some content there just to help you stay a little bit current. Again, this is something where it is so easy to get overwhelmed because there's a lot of information out there. And let's acknowledge there's some really great information and there's some not so great information out there. So if you're consuming content, think about where you're going for that content. I know, like for me, every day I get the Harvard Business Review right into my email, my inbox. I scan it. If there's something interesting there, I'm going to read it. If it's not, I'm like, okay, there's something else that's going to resonate for me later on in the week. Automate it. Make it a little bit easier for you. So subscribe to those things that you only want in your inbox. And that's something hopefully that will help you deal with the overwhelm. All right. Okay, we are flying through. All right, next question. When is it time to move on? I love this question. And I'm not tagging people's names with this because, let me just get situated here. I'm not tagging people's names to these questions because I didn't ask them if they wanted me to share who they were or where they were from or anything. I want to respect their anonymity in some ways, because sometimes when people are looking for jobs, they don't necessarily want it out there. And this question here, so when is it time to move on? It's time to move on when you have all of the information you need to make the best informed decision possible. I can remember talking with my vice president and having a very specific and direct conversation about my career path at the company where I worked. We are completely responsible for our career path, and that means we get to decide when it's time for us to move on and when it's not. I was having a conversation with my VP this one day, and I said to her, I want to ask you a question, and it's not going to be an easy question to ask, and maybe not an easy question for you to answer, but I trust you. And I trust you enough that whatever you're going to tell me, you're going to tell me truthfully and honestly, because I trust you. And I promise you, whatever you tell me, the first thing I'm going to say is, thank you. Here was the question I asked her. I asked her, with all the information she had, to confirm for me whether or not, based on my opinion, and based on what I had experienced, that at best, my career path at the company was horizontal. I was not going to be eligible for a promotion given the track that I was in. And while I was not in jeopardy of being fired, my best hope would be to remain horizontal, and that I could not expect to see any big raise or any bonus, let alone a promotion. And you know what she told me? She said to me, "You're right. Not for my lack of trying, but you're right." And I said to her, "Thank you." After I had that conversation, I knew it was time for me to move on. But there were some things that I needed to do to create my next advancement opportunity. But I also knew I had the time and the space to do that. I'm very grateful for every place where I've worked. And I'm also very grateful for the conversations that I've had with leadership. But you'll know when it's time to move on when you do get the information you need. And with that, I want to jump right into this next question, because this next question is tied so much directly to the other one. It is this: is it ever okay to just stay where you are and not go after the promotion? Yes, it absolutely is. I think there is a big misconception in our workplace culture that everyone needs to go after the promotion. And quite honestly, some people don't, right? I have had people on my team who have been completely comfortable staying where they are at the level where they were at, doing the work they were doing, And the reason I know that is because I asked them or because they told me. We have to acknowledge that we have a whole life outside of work. And for some, the stability of staying exactly where you are at work is exactly what they need. Maybe there are family obligations, personal reasons, health issues. Maybe they've got a side hustle they're just kind of pursuing and they get a lot of energy from that. Whatever it is, that's for them to tell you if they choose. But it's absolutely okay for people to say, I'm good, I'm okay where I'm at. And I often find that those people are happy doing what they're doing. Promotions and advancement opportunities can be really stressful. Those first two questions I asked, you heard the word overwhelm in those questions. So if you're not ready to tackle the overwhelm and you're not ready to go after the advancement opportunity, and you're doing quality work and you take pride in the work that you're doing and you like what you're doing and you're happy going to work every day and you love being with your colleagues and you're just okay where you're at, I'm going to tell you that's totally fine. That's okay. That's all right. Not everyone needs to be on the promotion path. Kim Scott wrote a book called Radical Candor. And in the book, she talks about superstars and rock stars. And those rock stars are those people that, if I have this right, the rock stars are the people who are just, they're doing great work. They love where they're at, but they're not aggressively seeking the promotion. And then there's those superstars that are just like going after it and they want the promotion and they want to get promoted every few years and every opportunity. We need both people in the workplace, but we also have to acknowledge we need great talent. And talent, great talent comes everywhere in the organization. All right, got another one. Here we go. I know a resume should be about results and outcomes, but how do you describe things that aren't quantifiable? So this question stems around from, like, how do we quantify soft skills, or how do we quantify excellent customer service when it can be a little difficult or challenging based on the resume? So what I want to say is this. First of all, the resume is tailored based on the work that you've done in the industry where you are at. So if you are in a particular customer service or healthcare industry, let's say, it may be a little difficult. Like, how do you quantify bedside manner, or how do you quantify patient care in those kind of situations? So yes, resumes need to be impact and evidence-based driven, but I'm going to challenge you to think about how you could quantify your customer service. Do you have feedback results, or are there testimonials from people with whom you've worked or people whom you've had as customers that might be able to vouch for the quality and the interaction that you've been able to provide? It's also okay to simply put a bullet point on your resume that talks about how you've provided excellent customer service or excellent client care, and just leave it as that. Not every single bullet needs to be impact and results oriented, especially when you're in that kind of profession where it may be a little difficult for it to be tangible. Certainly we don't want the resume to read like a job description, but it is okay to have a bullet or two in there that just kind of sits on its own, simply based on the nature of your work. So I hope that's helpful. All right, got a few more to go. We are moving along. This is great. We got to do more of this. This is great. How do you best prepare for your end of year review and write up accomplishments that highlight contributions and business impacts? So I have a few suggestions here that may help, but before I give them to you, I think we also have to acknowledge that for a lot of people, end of year review comes and that's the time they actually start thinking about it, and they start digging through emails and they start thinking about all the work that they've done and trying to put some things down, and there's a fear that they might miss some things. So here's what I've personally done, and here's what I've also recommended to team members and clients to help them out with that. So one thing is to create a document where every single month you go into that document and you write down your accomplishments for that particular month. And what I recommend is that you set a calendar reminder in your work calendar for 30 minutes on the last Monday of the month. The reason I say on the last Monday of the month, okay, is it's going to give you that entire week to honor those 30 minutes and get them down into the Word document. You might be on work travel, you might be busy, maybe you're out sick, maybe you're out on vacation, whatever that is, but you want that reminder there because you're going to honor that time to simply give yourself a few minutes to put down what you've achieved as well as what you've been working on. Now, if every month doesn't work for you, then go to every quarter. But I'm strongly recommending that you automate a reminder to go through and do that for yourself. Because it is so easy with how crazy we're working these days to just hit the snooze button on that appointment because we don't think it's that important, or we don't really have time for it because we're in the middle of something. Reschedule it, but honor to make sure that you complete it by that Friday of that week. Maybe it's for you, something for you to do every quarter, but if you don't honor it, you forget it. And then it's away from you. And now you're sitting there trying to figure out what your impact was. What'd you accomplish? Where'd you add value? You know, someone who sent you an email that was really complimentary, I always kept a kudos and keepers email folder that I would just put stuff in. And when I needed reminders about stuff for my end of year review, I went back into that folder. But end of year processes and reviews are hectic and chaotic enough. Make the process a little bit easier for you. And I just suggest you set some time in your calendar and automate it, and then honor that time to write down those things. It's far easier to write them down when they're fresh in your mind and current, as opposed to 9, 10, 11 months later when you're trying to remember. All right. Okay, next question. How do you lead through downsizing? So we know this is a common occurrence in today's work climate where companies are downsizing. We're seeing people being offered early retirement. We're seeing people just simply being let go because maybe companies are not performing as well. And so leadership through downsizing is so important because people are nervous, people are scared. And when I've had people come into my office when I had direct reports and they would talk about a restructuring or a reorganization and they'd ask questions about it, I'd always help them out and I'd say, okay, so do we want to just talk about you because that's what's most important right now? And we'd kind of laugh about it and they were like, well, I was getting to that. I said, well, let's just go right there. And we could have a conversation with them about you know, where they might be landing in the new restructuring, or if they were thinking about maybe leaving, what that might actually look like. But I'm a firm believer, and it's going to tie into this next question. So I'm going to go ahead and read this one as well, because they kind of both fall on the same line, okay? All right. How do we trust what's coming out and interpret if our leaders are towing the company line or being honest with us while trying to demonstrate our value to the company? All right. So we've got a question about leadership and a question about direct reports, let's say. You hear me talk a lot about how we show up professionally and energetically. I strongly believe that what helps us show up professionally and energetically is setting very clear and intentional expectations. And when you are managing people, when you have people who are wondering where they're going to land in a downsizing or restructuring, from a leadership point of view, I am going to tell you to go back and honor those ground rules and those expectations that you've set for communicating with your team. Yes, there may be some things that you can't tell them because things aren't fully fleshed out yet. Acknowledge and validate them. Acknowledge their concerns, validate the kind of work that they're doing, whether they're doing superior work or subpar work, but have a conversation with them. More often than not, people just feel relieved to have the conversation when they're getting those kinds of information that quite honestly is a little bit harrowing or nerve-wracking until the big company memo or email comes out saying this is what's going on and what's happening. You want to be able to take care of your team. From an employee or direct reports point of view, yes, you want to be able to continue to do quality work, because if you truly believe that's how you show up professionally and energetically, dialing it in, if you're listening to this video, I'm willing to bet is probably not in your makeup. You show up because you care about the work you do, why you do the work you do, and the people whom you get to help or serve because of it. Don't change who you are and how you show up professionally and energetically because of a situation that's going on around you. Trust me, when I shared that story earlier with you about fully knowing and understanding that I was never going to get promoted in this company I was working for again, just because of my career path and where I was at, I could have dialed it in. But I did my best every single day to not do that, because I knew there were people that were depending on me and counting on me for doing the work that I needed to do. But yes, I was also actively planning in the background what that next opportunity was going to be like. So you still want to go ahead and demonstrate your value every single day by doing the great work that you do. But you also have to look out for number one. You also have to look out for you and your career and what that means for the people and the things in your life that you are responsible for. So it doesn't mean that you can't be nervous or scared or thinking about what the next job's going to be just in case. That's understandable. And yes, if you accept full responsibility for your career path, you're going to actively be looking at that. You know, it's one thing to kind of sit back and wait and say, all right, come and get me. Come and get me with the white box, and the day comes, I'll figure it out after that. If that's what you decide to do, that's okay. I'm gonna honor that you're doing whatever you feel is best for you in that situation. And there's nothing wrong in that. Okay, there's no judgment there on my part. But if you are the kind of person who wants to be proactive, you're going to make sure that you are always keeping your options open, even if things are really great at work. Because you're always thinking about what's going to be next. It might be an internal promotion. It might be that opportunity for you to leverage your talents and expertise and take them elsewhere. But if we're going to honor how we show up professionally and energetically, whether you're a leader or you're reporting to someone, whatever that might be, just remember that how you show up makes a big difference. And that's what's going to impact the quality of your work. And that's what's also going to impact how you navigate and listen, lean in, and step forward. Again, I just want to thank everybody who sent in some questions and such. It was really helpful, and I appreciate the richness and the depth of the questions, and you feeling comfortable enough to go ahead and ask them. So if you've checked out this video, either live or after the fact, thank you. It meant a lot for you sending in those questions, so I really appreciate it. Also keep in mind that this video will be posted to my YouTube channel and on my Learning Hub on my website at johnnerrell.com. The YouTube channel is John Nerrell Coaching, LLC. All right, so if we have no other questions, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. We're almost at that 1:30 mark. And if you do have any further questions, you can go ahead and email me at john@johnnerrell.com. And feel free, if you like the video, go ahead, hit the like button, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I look forward to seeing you really soon with another video around leadership and career topics. I wish you all the best. Have a great rest of the day, everybody. Take care. Bye.